My oxygen machine shattered against the wooden porch, its plastic shell splintering like a dropped glass. My daughter, Claire, stood over it, her laugh sharp and cruel, slicing through the warm Boise evening. "You don't need this crutch, Mom," she sneered, her voice loud enough for the neighbors to hear at our annual family barbecue. "I'm Helen Ward, 75, a retired nurse who spent decades tending to others, now clutching my wedding ring, its floral etching, a fading tie to my late husband Paul." The neighbors, gathered on my lawn with plates of ribs and coleslaw, froze, their eyes darting from the wreckage to Claire's mocking grin. My chest tightened, not just from COPD, but from the raw sting of betrayal. I'd raised Claire, nursed her through childhood fevers, paid for her college, only to be humiliated in my own home. The air was thick with the scent of grilled meat and honeysuckle, the kind of Idaho summer evening where families should feel safe. Instead, Claire's laughter echoed, a deliberate blade. I saw her glance at her husband, Greg. His nod subtle but cold, like they'd rehearsed this. My hands trembled, but I forced them still, gripping the ring harder. This wasn't a careless act, it was a calculated move to make me seem weak, dependent, a burden. The neighbors' whispers grew, their faces a mix of shock and pity. Martha Gaines, my friend from across the street, set down her lemonade, her eyes narrowing. "That's not right," she muttered to her husband. Frank, their outrage was a spark, one I knew could spread. I replayed the moment in my mind, each second a fresh wound. Claire had grabbed the machine from my chair, where I'd set it to catch my breath, and tossed it like it was nothing. The crowd's silence was deafening, broken only by her chuckle and Greg's quiet smirk. I'd spent my life as a nurse, reading people patients, families, liars. Their exchange screamed intent. They wanted me diminished, not just in front of family but the whole neighborhood. My lungs burned, but my heart burned hotter. I'd given Claire everything: sleepless nights, endless support, and this was her repayment. The thought twisted like a knife. I remembered her at 16, promising to care for me as I'd cared for her. That promise felt like ash now. I forced a smile, my nurse's calm masking the storm inside. "Claire, why'd you do that?" I asked, voice steady despite the ache. She shrugged, tossing her hair. "You're tougher than you act, Mom. Stop playing frail." Her words were a slap, designed to sting. Greg chimed in, his tone patronizing. "Yeah, Helen, you're fine. Let's not make a scene." A scene. They'd made one, and I was the punchline. The neighbors shifted, uncomfortable but riveted. Janet Poole, another neighbor, whispered to Martha, her voice carrying, "That's cruel." Their words fueled me, a reminder I wasn't alone. My mind raced. Was this about money, control, or something darker? I'd seen Claire's spending new clothes, a flashy car beyond her means, but this felt personal, a betrayal deeper than greed. I touched my ring, its grooves grounding me. Paul had given it to me on our 10th anniversary, a symbol of trust, now tarnished by Claire's act. I recalled a moment from years ago, Claire at 8, clinging to me after a nightmare. My arms, her safe haven. That memory clashed with her laughter now, a jagged edge in my chest. Could I still love her after this? Or did justice demand I fight back? I scanned the crowd. Ethan, my 19-year-old grandson, stood at the edge, his face pale. He didn't laugh, didn't join his parents' mockery. His eyes met mine, a flicker of shame in them. Was he in on this, or just caught in the crossfire? I couldn't tell, but his silence was a thread I'd pull later. The neighbors' murmurs grew louder, a chorus of disapproval. Martha stepped closer, her hand on my arm. "You okay, Helen?" she asked, her voice low but firm. I nodded, hiding the tremor in my hands. "I will be," I said, my voice a quiet vow. Claire and Greg moved to the grill, laughing as if nothing had happened, but I saw the neighbors watching, their phones out, some typing. A video of Claire's stunt was probably already on Facebook, spreading through Boise's tight-knit groups. This wasn't just my fight, it was becoming theirs. I thought of my nursing days, standing up to doctors who dismissed patients' pain. I'd never backed down then, and I wouldn't now. But the question gnawed, was I fighting my daughter, or the monster she'd become? The ring felt heavy, a reminder of what I'd lost: Paul, trust, family. Yet it also felt like a call to action. I bent down, picking up a piece of the broken machine, its tube dangling like a severed lifeline. The crowd watched, their silence a canvas for my next move. I straightened, meeting Claire's eyes. You'll replace this, I said, loud enough for all to hear. Her smile faltered, just for a second. Greg's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The neighbors' heads nodded, a quiet alliance forming. I slipped the machine's fragment into my pocket, a piece of evidence. My nurse's instinct kicked in: observe, assess, act. I'd start digging tonight, through bank accounts, emails, anything to uncover their game. That as the barbecue continued, I moved among the guests, my smile a mask. Martha and Frank stayed close, their presence a shield. Janet whispered, "We've got your back, Helen." Their support was a lifeline, but the pain lingered. Claire's laughter echoed in my mind, a sound I'd once cherished, now turned weapon. I asked myself, could I expose her without losing her forever? The answer wasn't clear, but the neighbors' outrage, the weight of my ring, and the broken machine in my pocket said one thing: this wasn't over. I'd press send, not on a message, but on a reckoning. The spark was lit, and Boise would see it burn. I tapped the PayPal app on my phone, the screen glowing in the dim light of my living room. A $4,500 transfer to Boise Family Fund froze my breath, a theft hidden in plain sight. My daughter, Claire, had access, her name tied to the account from years ago when she'd offered to manage my bills. I scrolled further, finding a trail of smaller withdrawals: $200, $500, $1,000 siphoned over months to this so-called charity. Each transaction was a quiet stab, proof of a betrayal I hadn't seen coming. My fingers tightened around the phone, the weight of her deception settling in. As a nurse, I'd spent my life spotting lies in patients' eyes. Now, I'd missed them in my own daughter's. The living room was silent, save for the faint hum of my refrigerator, its shelves stocked with leftovers from last night's barbecue. I stood and paced, the hardwood floor cool under my bare feet. My chest ached, not just from the COPD, but from a growing fury. Claire's laughter from the porch, her casual cruelty, replayed in my mind. Had she planned this theft while mocking me? I opened my laptop, searching Boise Family Fund. The website was slick smiling families, vague promises of community support, but the contact page listed a P.O. box. No names, no transparency. A scam, dressed up as charity. My nurse's instinct screamed. This was no accident. I recalled a moment from Claire's childhood. She was sick with fever, her small hand clutching mine as I cooled her forehead. "You're my hero, Mom," she'd whispered. That memory burned now, twisted by her greed. Was this about money, or was she hiding a deeper wound? The question gnawed, pitting my love for her against the need to fight back. I couldn't just confront her, she'd deny it, spin more lies. I needed proof, something undeniable to unravel her game. Martha Gaines knocked on my door, her face etched with concern. She carried a foiled tray of peach cobbler, the scent sweet but heavy in the tense air. "I saw what Claire did last night," she said, setting the tray on my counter. "That wasn't right, throwing your machine like that, you holding up." Her words were a lifeline, pulling me from the edge of doubt. I nodded, forcing a smile. "I'm figuring it out," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Martha's eyes lingered, searching. "You're stronger than she thinks," she added, then hesitated. "Folks are talking. Janet Poole said she saw Claire at the diner with some guy. Looked like they were scheming." My pulse quickened, another thread to pull. I sat back down, the PayPal app still open. I screenshot the transactions, emailing them to myself for safekeeping. Then I logged into my bank account, checking for other anomalies. Nothing else was touched yet. Claire's access was limited to PayPal, but that was enough to bleed me dry. I remembered her recent purchases: a new SUV, designer bags flashed at the barbecue like trophies. Was she funding her life with my savings? Or was this charity a front for something worse? My anger hardened into resolve. I wasn't the frail mother she thought I was. I grabbed a notepad, jotting down the dates and amounts of each withdrawal. The act felt like stitching a wound, methodical, grounding. I'd learned in nursing to document everything, to build a case before acting. This was no different. I called PayPal's fraud line, my voice calm but firm. "I need to report unauthorized transactions," I told the agent. A young man named Ryan. He walked me through locking the account, promising an investigation. "We'll flag it," he said. "You'll hear back soon." Hanging up, I felt a flicker of control, but it came with a pang. Claire was my daughter. Locking her out felt like cutting a piece of myself. "Martha Lingard, sipping coffee I'd poured. "You know," she said, "I checked that Boise Family Fund online. It's fishy. No real address, no board members listed." Her words confirmed my suspicions. "Thanks, Martha," I said, my mind racing. She wasn't just a neighbor, she was a witness. Someone who'd amplified this if it broke open. I thought of Ethan, my grandson, his pale face at the barbecue. Did he know about this? Or was he another victim of Claire's lies? I couldn't ask him, yet not without more proof. I opened my phone's photo gallery, finding a picture from last summer. Claire and me at a Boise River festival, her arm around me, smiling. The image stung, a reminder of a bond I'd thought unbreakable. Now, it was a lie. I deleted the photo, my finger hovering over the trash icon before pressing hard. The act was small but final, a step toward letting go. But the question lingered, was I fighting for justice or revenge? The line blurred, and it scared me. Could I expose Claire without losing the family I'd built? I walked to my window, the Boise sunset painting the sky orange. The neighborhood was quiet, kids riding bikes, a dog barking down the street. This was my home, my life, and Claire was stealing it, piece by piece. I thought of my nursing days, standing up to arrogant doctors, advocating for patients no one else would. I'd never backed down then, and I wouldn't now. But this wasn't a hospital, this was my daughter. The weight of that truth pressed against my ribs, heavier than any illness. Martha stood to leave, squeezing my hand. "You're not alone," she said. "Whatever you need, we're here." Her words were a spark, igniting something new, not just anger, but purpose. I nodded, my jaw set. "I'll need that," I said. She left, and I sat back at my laptop, opening a new tab. I typed how to trace PayPal transactions into Google, the screen lighting up with possibilities. Claire thought I was weak, too old to fight back. She was wrong. I'd find her secrets, and I'd make her face them. But what would I uncover next? The thought hung like a storm cloud, promising answers I might not be ready for. I punched my old hospital login into the computer, the screen flickering in the quiet of the Boise Library's study room. The medical portal loaded, and a new entry in my patient file stopped me cold. Cognitive decline observed. Recommend psychiatric evaluation. My hands froze on the keyboard. I hadn't seen a doctor in months, yet here was a diagnosis, stamped with yesterday's date. Claire's name was linked to my account. She'd set it up years ago to help with appointments. This wasn't a clerical error. It was a deliberate forgery, designed to paint me as unstable. My pulse hammered, not from illness but from a surge of defiance. I'd spent my career as a nurse spotting fraud in medical records, and now my own daughter was using my trust against me. The library smelled of old books and polished wood, the faint hum of fluorescent lights overhead. I clicked deeper into the portal, finding a note from a Dr. Smith claiming I'd shown confusion and memory lapses during a visit I never made. My fingers tightened around the mouse. The plastic, creaking. Claire's betrayal wasn't just about money, it was about stripping my dignity, isolating me from those I loved. I printed the file. The printers were a sharp counterpoint to the silence. Each page felt like a wound, but also a weapon. I wasn't the frail mother she thought. I'd fight with the precision of my nursing days. I remembered Claire at 20, shadowing me at the hospital, proud of my work. "You're so sharp, Mom," she'd said, watching me catch a doctor's mistake. Now, she'd turned that sharpness against me. The memory stung, but it fueled a new resolve, not anger, but a cold, calculated determination to unravel her plan. Was she trying to lock me away, or just scare me into submission? The question burned, pitting my love for her against the need to protect myself. I couldn't confront her, yet her lies were too slippery. I needed more, something to pin her down. Frank Gaines, Martha's husband, spotted me as I left the study room, the printed pages tucked under my arm. He was browsing the history section, his flannel shirt rumpled from a day's work. "You look shaken," he said, his voice low but kind. "Everything okay?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Just sorting some things out," I replied, my tone clipped but firm. Frank's eyes narrowed, catching the weight in my words. "Heard Claire was at the diner again," he said, "with some guy in a suit, talking low. Didn't look friendly." His words were a spark, hinting at a larger scheme. I thanked him, my mind racing. Claire wasn't acting alone, and I'd find out who was with her. Back at the library desk, I emailed the printed file to myself, labeling it evidence. My nurse's instinct kicked in. Document. Verify. Act. I logged out, double-checking. The portal was secure. Claire thought she could erase my credibility, but she'd underestimated me. I recalled my years advocating for patients, fighting for their truth against dismissive doctors. This was no different, except the stakes were my life, my legacy. I slipped the pages into my purse, their edges sharp against my fingers. A small glass paperweight on the desk caught my eye, its blue swirl glinting under the light. It felt like a symbol of clarity, a fleeting reminder to stay focused. I left it behind, needing no distractions. I stepped outside. The Boise air, crisp with the scent of pine and distant wood smoke. The library's brick facade loomed against a graying sky, a stark contrast to the warmth of last night's barbecue. My determination hardened, but a flicker of doubt crept in. Claire was my daughter. Could I dismantle her life without breaking my own? The forged file wasn't just about money. It was about control, about cutting me off from Ethan, my grandson. I'd seen his troubled face at the barbecue, his silence a question mark. Was he part of this, or just caught in her web? I'd have to find out, but carefully. I walked to my car, the gravel crunching underfoot. My phone buzzed. A text from Martha. Janet says the neighborhood's buzzing about Claire's stunt. We're here for you. Their support was a lifeline, but it also meant eyes on me, expectations. I couldn't falter now. I replied, "Thanks, I'll need you." Then I opened my email, confirming the file had sent. I forwarded it to Susan Hayes, my lawyer, with a note. "Check this. It's not right." Susan's sharp mind would see what I saw a setup. I'd met her at book club, her legal advice always cutting through the noise. She'd be my first ally in this fight. The drive home was quiet, Boise's tree-lined streets blurring past. I thought of Claire's childhood, how she'd beam when I praised her school projects. That girl was gone, replaced by someone who'd faked my decline to steal my life. The realization didn't bring pain, now it brought clarity. I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for every mother dismissed, every elder betrayed. But the question lingered. Could I expose Claire without losing Ethan, the one piece of family I still trusted? His face at the barbecue haunted me, a mix of shame and fear. I pulled into my driveway, the house dark except for a porch light flickering. I sat in the car, the printed file heavy in my purse. Claire's plan was bigger than I'd thought, not just theft, but a campaign to erase my voice. I remembered a patient years ago, an elderly woman whose family had tried to silence her. I'd fought for her then, and I'd fight for myself now. But what was Claire's next move? The diner meetings, the forged file. There was more to uncover. I stepped out, the night air sharp against my skin. I'd dig deeper, but into what? The answer was out there, waiting in the shadows of Claire's lies. I unlocked my front door, the keys scraping as I stepped into the hallway. Ethan, my 19-year-old grandson, stood there, his lanky frame slouched against the wall, eyes fixed on his phone. "Mom's hiding something," he blurted, his voice low, almost a whisper. "She's been sneaking off, meeting some guy, not Dad." His words hit like a shockwave, revealing a crack in Claire's facade. My hand steadied on the doorframe, the weight of this new truth shifting my focus. No longer just a victim of theft or lies, I felt a surge of resolve, not just to protect myself, but to shield Ethan from his mother's deceit. My nurse's instinct, honed over decades, kicked in. Observe, connect, act. The hallway smelled of lavender from a candle I'd lit earlier, its flicker casting shadows on the walls. Ethan's face was pale, his usual confidence replaced by a nervous twitch. I gestured to the couch, and he sat, still clutching his phone. "She's been weird for months," he said, scrolling through texts. "Always whispering with this guy, late at night. Dad doesn't know." I leaned forward, my voice calm but probing. "What kind of weird?" Ethan hesitated, then showed me a message he'd screenshot. "Claire to an unknown number. Meet me at the park. Can't let Mom or Greg find out." My heart raced. Not just theft, not just lies, but infidelity. Claire's betrayal wasn't just against me. It was fracturing her own family. I recalled a moment from Ethan's childhood. Him at 10, proudly showing me his science fair project. Claire beaming beside him. That unity felt distant now, poisoned by her secrets. My anger from the forged medical file and stolen money morphed into something sharper. A need to protect Ethan, to pull him from her web. Was Claire's affair tied to her schemes? Or was it a separate wound? The question burned, but I pushed it aside. I needed to act, not dwell. Ethan, I said, my voice firm, you don't have to choose sides, but I need to know what you've seen. He nodded, eyes down, torn but trusting. I handed him a glass of water, its cool surface grounding me. It wasn't a keepsake, just a simple thing, but it felt like a bridge between us, a moment of trust. This stays between us, I said, and he agreed, his shoulders relaxing. I opened my laptop, pulling up a new email to Susan Hayes, my lawyer. I typed a quick note, found evidence of Claire's infidelity. Could be motive. Need advice. I attached Ethan's screenshot, my fingers steady despite the storm inside. This wasn't just about money or my reputation. Anymore it was about Claire's unraveling life. And I'd use it to unravel her lies. Martha Gaines' text from earlier echoed in my mind. The neighborhood was buzzing. I hadn't shared the forged file yet, but Claire's porch stunt was already fuel for gossip. I needed allies, and Ethan was my first. His confession wasn't just a clue, it was a lifeline. I stood, pacing the room, the hardwood creaking underfoot. The Boise night outside was still, stars visible through the window, a contrast to the chaos within. I asked Ethan, does your mom know you saw these texts? He shook his head. She thinks I'm clueless. His bitterness matched mine, a shared wound binding us. I sat beside him, my voice low. Your mom's made choices, Ethan. They're not your fault. He looked up, eyes glistening. She's always hated how close we are, he said. Says you love me more than her. The words cut deep, revealing Claire's jealousy, a motive I hadn't seen. She wasn't just after my money or name. She resented my bond with her son. My resolve hardened, not just for justice, but to save Ethan from her shadow. I remembered my nursing days, protecting kids from neglectful parents. This was no different, except it was my family. I opened my phone, checking for updates from PayPal's fraud team. Nothing yet, but I didn't need it now. Ethan's screenshot was enough to push forward. I forwarded it to Susan, adding, this could explain her desperation. Check for connections. Susan's reply came fast. I'll dig. Stay sharp. Her confidence fueled mine. I looked at Ethan, his face a mix of loyalty and fear. You're brave for telling me, I said. He shrugged, but a faint smile broke through. You're the only one who's always been straight with me, he said. That trust was my anchor, pulling me from doubt to action. The room felt smaller, the air thick with unspoken questions. Was Claire's affair the key to her schemes, or just another layer of her betrayal? I needed more, but Ethan's words were a start. I thought of the neighbors, their support growing. Martha had mentioned Claire at the diner with a man. Could it be the same guy from Ethan's texts? I made a mental note to ask Frank, who'd seen them too. The pieces were falling into place, but each one cut deeper. Claire wasn't just stealing, she was dismantling our family, driven by envy I hadn't seen until now. I stood, walking to the window. The Boise street was quiet, porch lights glowing in the distance. I felt a shift, not the pain of betrayal, but a growing certainty. Claire had underestimated me, thinking age and illness made me weak. She was wrong. I'd use her secrets to build my case, just as I'd once built charts to save patients. But the cost loomed. Exposing Claire might push Ethan away, despite his trust. Could I protect him while dismantling his mother? The question hung heavy, unanswered. Ethan stood, grabbing his jacket. I've gotta go, he said, voice tight. But I'll keep an eye out. I nodded, squeezing his shoulder. Be careful, I said. He left, the door clicking shut. I sat back at my laptop, the screenshot still open. Claire's jealousy, her affair, was a new weapon, but a dangerous one. I needed to move carefully, to turn her secrets against her without breaking Ethan. The night stretched on, and I knew the next step was coming, something bigger, hidden in the shadows of Claire's lies. What would I find next? I clicked into a Zoom link left open on my laptop, the screen flashing to life in my dimly lit dining room. The call was Liv. Claire's voice, sharp and conspiratorial, filled the room. We tell everyone she's losing it, Greg, she said, her face pixelated but smug. Get her committed, and no one questions the money. Greg's low chuckle followed. She's too weak to fight back. My finger hovered over the record button, then pressed it, capturing every damning word. My heart pounded, not from fear but from a blazing certainty. Claire wasn't just stealing, she was plotting to erase my sanity. My nurse's instincts, honed over decades, screamed, This was my weapon, and I'd wield it. The dining room smelled of lemon polish, the table gleaming under a single lamp. I muted my mic, turned off my camera, and let the call run. Claire leaned closer to her screen, unaware of me. "The hospital file's done," she said. "Next, we push her at the community picnic. Make her look confused, frail." Greg nodded, his eyes cold. "Ethan's starting to ask questions. We need to move fast." Their words were a blade, cutting deeper than the theft or lies. They wanted to humiliate me publicly, to lock me away. My hand steadied, channeling the shock into focus. I saved the recording, naming it Claire's Plan, and emailed it to Susan Hayes, my lawyer, with a note. "This is what they're doing. Help me stop them." I remembered Claire at 30, confiding in me about her dreams, my pride swelling as I supported her. Now, she was orchestrating my downfall, jealous of my bond with Ethan. The betrayal didn't ache anymore, it fueled me. My certainty grew, not just to protect myself but to expose Claire before she could hurt others. I opened Facebook, intending to message Susan privately, but my fingers slipped, posting the Zoom clip to the neighborhood group. Within minutes, notifications exploded, likes, shares, comments. "This is elder abuse," Janet Poole wrote. "We're with you," Martha Gaines added. The clip spread like wildfire, Boise's gossip mill churning. I froze, realizing I'd just made Claire's plan public. The dining room's silence was broken by my phone, buzzing texts from neighbors, outraged, supportive. Janet knocked on my door, her face flushed. "That video's everywhere," she said, stepping inside. "People are furious. Claire's got no shame." Her voice was sharp, her loyalty a spark in the growing storm. I nodded, my voice steady. "I didn't mean to post it," I admitted, "but maybe it's time they're exposed." Janet's eyes widened. "You're braver than you know," she said. Her words lit a fire, not just resolve, but a fierce pride. I wasn't the weak, Mother Claire thought. I was a fighter, and Boise was watching. I replayed the Zoom clip, Claire's words searing. "She's too old to notice," she'd said. My nurse's training kicked in. Document, protect, strike. I forwarded the clip to Susan, adding, "This is going viral. What's my next step?" Susan replied instantly, "This is gold. I'll draft a cease and desist. Stay low for now." Her confidence bolstered mine, but the viral clip was a double-edged sword. It exposed Claire, but it also risked Ethan's trust. He'd confided in me about her affair. Would he see this as betrayal? I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the task. Claire's plan was unraveling, and I'd pull every thread. I stood, pacing the room, the chandelier's soft glow reflecting off a small brass clock on the table. Its steady tick felt like a countdown, urging me forward. The clock wasn't a keepsake, just a marker of time running out for Claire's lies. I checked Facebook again, hundreds of shares, comments calling Claire disgraceful. The neighborhood's outrage was a tidal wave, amplifying my fight. I thought of Ethan, his confession about Claire's infidelity still raw. He was caught in her web, but his trust in me was my strength. I couldn't let him down, not when he'd risked so much. To tell me the truth, Janet lingered, scrolling her phone. "Frank saw Claire at the diner again," she said, her tone sharp. "With that same guy," looked intense. "People are talking, saying she's up to something big." Her words were a clue, another piece of the puzzle. I nodded, my mind racing. Claire's affair, her theft, her forged filet, was all connected. But to what end? I remembered my nursing days, piecing together symptoms to save lives. This was no different, except the patient was my family, and the disease was Claire's greed. I asked Janet, "Can you keep an eye on her? Let me know what you hear." She agreed, her jaw set. "We've got your back," she said, and left. I sat back down, the Zoom clip still open. Claire's smug face stared back, unaware she'd been caught. The viral post was a mistake, but it was also a weapon. Boise's eyes were on her now, and she'd feel the pressure. But what about Ethan? He'd see the clip, hear his mother's voice plotting against me. Would he stand by me, or pull away? The question gnawed, but I pushed it aside. I'd built a case: stolen money, forged files, now this recording. Claire thought she could break me, but she'd miscalculated. I was no longer the grieving mother. I was a strategist, ready to strike. The night deepened, the dining room's lamp casting long shadows. I checked my phone, more comments, more shares. The clip was spreading beyond Boise, picking up traction on local news pages. I felt a rush, not of fear, but of power. Claire's plan to humiliate me was backfiring, but the cost loomed. Exposing her meant risking Ethan, my last tie to family. Could I destroy her without losing him? The brass clock ticked on, counting down to the next move. Claire's secrets were crumbling, but what else was she hiding? The answer was close, and I'd find it no matter the cost. I picked up Ethan's phone from the coffee table, its screen still lit with an open voicemail. Claire's voice spilled out, sharp and frantic. "Greg, I can't let Mom know about my son. I gave him up to keep her approval, but now he's back, and I need her money to fix this." The words hit like a thunderbolt, revealing a secret child Claire had hidden for years. My hands gripped the phone, the weight of her confession shifting my fight. No longer just about theft or lies, this was about a betrayal rooted in fear and shame. A fierce protectiveness surged, not just for myself, but for Ethan, caught in his mother's web. My nurse's instincts, sharp from decades of reading between lines, told me this was the key to dismantling her. The living room was hushed, the only sound a distant lawnmower humming through the open window. Ethan had left his phone behind, after a rushed visit, his face pale when he mentioned Claire's odd behavior. I replayed the voicemail, Claire's voice trembling as she continued, "If Mom finds out, she cut me off. Ethan can't know either." My chest tightened, not from copy but from the depth of her deception. She'd abandoned the child, fearing my judgment, and now used my savings to buy his silence. I saved the voicemail to my cloud, labeling it Claire's secret, and emailed it to Susan Hayes, my lawyer, with a note. "This changes everything. Need your advice now." I remembered Claire at 18, tearful after a fight, swearing she'd never disappoint me. That promise was ash now, replaced by a secret son and a plan to ruin me. My certainty from the viral Zoom clip hardened into something new, a steely commitment to shield Ethan and expose Claire's lies, her jealousy, her affair, her theft. It all stemmed from this hidden shame. I couldn't confront her yet. She'd spin more lies. Instead, I'd build my case, piece by piece, like charting a patient's symptoms. The voicemail was my strongest evidence yet, a weapon to turn her fear against her. Ethan returned, his sneakers scuffing the floor. "I heard it," he said, his voice breaking. "Mom's voicemail. I didn't know about him." His eyes were red, his trust in Claire shattered. I set the phone down, my voice steady. "You don't have to carry this," I said, "but I need your help to stop her." He nodded, his jaw tight. "She's been lying to everyone," he said. "I'm with you." His words were a lifeline, forging an alliance I hadn't expected. I handed him a notepad, a simple tool to jot down anything else he remembered. Its blank pages felt like a contract, binding us in this fight. I stood, moving to the window, the Boise afternoon bright with summer light. The neighborhood was alive, kids on bikes, a mail truck rumbling by, but inside, a storm brewed. Ethan's confession about Claire's affair had hinted at her unraveling. This voicemail confirmed it. She wasn't just after my money or name, as she was running from her past, using me to bury it. I recalled my nursing days, comforting families through crises. Ethan was my family now, and I'd protect him, even if it meant destroying his mother. But could I do it without breaking him? I checked my phone. Facebook notifications piled up, the Zoom clip still spreading. Comments called Claire heartless, neighbors vowing support. Martha Gaines texted, "Saw Claire at the community center, arguing with a man, looked intense." Her words were a spark, linking to the diner sightings Frank had mentioned. Claire's secret son, her affair, her schemes, they were converging. I replied to Martha, "Keep watching, I need everything." Her response was instant, "On it." The neighborhood was my army now, their eyes amplifying my fight. I sat back down, opening my laptop to draft a plan. Susan's reply came through, "Voicemail is dynamite. I'll investigate this son angle. Don't confront her yet." Her caution matched my own. I needed more proof of who this child was, how Claire was funding him. I searched online for adoption records in Boise, but the process was locked tight. My nurse's mind kicked in. If I couldn't find the son directly, I'd trace Claire's movements. I asked Ethan, "Has your mom been anywhere strange lately?" He frowned, thinking, "She's been driving to Nampa a lot, saying it's work, but she's nervous about it." Nampa, 20 miles away, a place to hide secrets. I jotted down Nampa on the notepad, my pen steady. Claire's fear of my judgment drove her to this, abandoning a child, then betraying me to reclaim him. The realization didn't soften me, it sharpened my focus. I thought of a patient years ago, a mother who'd hidden a child to save face, only to lose everything. Claire was walking that path, and I'd make her face it, but Ethan's pain weighed heavy. His trust was fragile, and this fight could break it. I looked at him, his face set but vulnerable. "You're enough for me," I said, meaning it. He nodded, a faint smile breaking through. The room felt charged, the voicemail's truth hanging like a storm cloud. I checked Facebook again. The clip had hit local news pages, comments now in the thousands. Claire's plan to lock me away was crumbling under public scrutiny, but the voicemail added a new layer. Who was this son, and what hold did he have over her? I needed to know, but carefully. Ethan stood, grabbing his phone. "I'll watch her," he said, voice firm. "She's not getting away with this." I squeezed his hand, my commitment unwavering. "Be safe," I said. He left, the door clicking shut. I leaned back, the notepad in hand. Claire's secrets were piling up: money, lies, a child, but each one made her weaker. My protectiveness for Ethan drove me now, not just justice for myself. The neighborhood's support, Susan's legal muscle, Ethan's trust, it was all coming together. But what was Claire planning next? The Nampa trips, the man at the community center, some bigger was brewing. I'd find it, and when I did, I'd press send again, not just for me, but for everyone she'd hurt. I opened an email from Susan Hayes. The subject line stark: urgent Boise Family Fund investigation. Her message revealed a bombshell. The fake charity was tied to Alan Voss, a disgraced doctor I'd reported for falsifying records at the hospital 30 years ago. Claire had hired him to certify me incompetent, linking my stolen money to his scam. My fingers froze on the mouse, the revelation igniting a new fire, not just betrayal, but a vendetta from my past. Voss wasn't just Claire's pawn. He was settling a score. A surge of defiance, sharper than before, coursed through me. I wasn't just fighting my daughter, I was facing an enemy I'd buried long ago, and I'd outsmart them both. The email glowed on my laptop screen, parked on my kitchen counter, the room quiet except for the faint drip of a faucet. Susan's report detailed Voss's history, fired after I exposed his lies, now running a shady consulting firm. Claire's payments to his Boise Family Fund were funneled through offshore accounts, but Susan had traced them. A second attachment showed a forged psychiatric evaluation, signed by Voss, claiming I had severe dementia. My breath caught. This was Claire's endgame, to lock me away and seize control. I forwarded the email to Susan with a note: draft a cease and desist. Voss is personal. My nurse's precision took over, turning shock into strategy. I remembered Claire at my retirement party, toasting my courage for standing up to doctors like Voss. Now, she'd allied with him, weaponizing my past to destroy my future. The irony burned, but it forged a new resolve, not just to protect Ethan, but to reclaim my legacy. Voss's grudge added a layer to Claire's betrayal, making it more than greed or jealousy. They wanted to erase me, but I'd fought worse odds in hospital wards, saving lives against arrogant men. I printed the evaluation, its crisp pages a stark contrast to the chaos within. A single coffee mug on the counter, its handle chipped, caught my eye, a fleeting reminder to stay grounded. I left it untouched, my focus razor-sharp. Martha Gaines called, her voice urgent. I saw Claire at the community center again. She said, "With that man from the diner, Frank thinks he's a doctor." Shifty kept looking around. I gripped the phone, my voice steady. "Did you get a name?" Martha paused. "No, but he had a briefcase, looked official. People are still talking about that Zoom clip." Her words were fuel, tying Voss to Claire's secretive meetings. I thanked her, asking her to keep watching. "You're not alone," she said, her tone fierce. Her loyalty strengthened my defiance, turning neighbors into a network of eyes. I sat at the counter, opening my laptop to search Voss's name. A LinkedIn profile confirmed his consulting front, but comments hinted at fraud allegations. My mind raced. Voss's revenge wasn't just about money. It was about humiliating me, the nurse who'd ended his career. Claire's involvement made it personal, a betrayal layered with history. I recall the night shift years ago, confronting Voss over a patient's misdiagnosis. His sneer then matched Claire's now. The memory didn't soften me, it sharpened my edge. I emailed Susan again. "Voss is the man from the diner. Dig into his past." Her reply was swift. "On it, this is bigger than we thought." I stood, pacing the kitchen, the tile cold underfoot. The Boise evening outside was calm, streetlights casting soft glows, but inside, a storm brewed. Ethan's voicemail confession about Claire's secret son still echoed, but Voss's role raised the stakes. Claire wasn't just hiding a child, she'd partnered with a man who hated me to destroy my credibility. I needed to protect Ethan, but also my name, earned through decades of service. I thought of patients I'd fought for, their trust in me, a shield. Now, I'd fight for myself, using every tool evidence allies. Truth. My phone buzzed a text from Ethan. Mom's freaking out. She knows about the Facebook clip, said she's fixing it. His words were a warning. Claire was scrambling. I replied, stay safe. Tell me what she does next. Ethan's loyalty was my anchor, but his pain weighed heavy. He'd heard the voicemail, knew about his mother's hidden son. Could I expose Claire and Voss without breaking him further? The question lingered, but my defiance pushed it aside. I opened a new document, listing my evidence: stolen funds, forged file, Zoom clip, voicemail. Voss's evaluation was the latest piece, a weapon to turn against them. I walked to the window, the neighborhood quiet except for a distant dog barking. Martha's call about the community center gnawed at me. Voss was moving openly now, bold or desperate. I needed to know his next step. I texted Frank, any more on that man with Claire? His reply came fast. Heard someone call him Alan, wore a bad suit, kept checking his phone. Alan. Voss confirmed. My heart raced, but my hands were steady. I'd faced him before, and won. I'd do it again. But Claire's role cut deeper. She'd chosen a man I'd defeated to defeat me. I sat back down. The laptop screen bright. Susan's cease and desist would hit Voss soon, but I needed more proof of his meetings with Claire, their plans' scope. I searched for Nampa, where Ethan said Claire had been traveling. A clinic there popped up, linked to Voss's firm. Was this where they met? I jotted it down. My pen firm. My nursing days taught me to anticipate, to act before the crisis. Claire and Voss thought I was weak, but they'd misjudged me. The neighborhood's support, Ethan's trust, Susan's legal muscle, it was all aligning. The kitchen clock ticked, marking time I didn't have. Claire's panic meant she'd act soon, maybe escalate. I needed to stay ahead, but the cost loomed. Exposing Voss would expose Claire, and Ethan would feel the fallout. Could I protect him while destroying them? The chipped mug sat silent, a reminder to stay focused. I leaned back, my defiance now a blazing fire. Claire and Voss had awakened a past I'd buried, but I'd use it to bury them. What was their next move? The answer was close, and I'd be ready when it came. I posted a cryptic message on LinkedIn. Some betrayals cut deeper than family ties. The words glowed on my phone screen, a deliberate jab at Claire, sent from the quiet of my front porch. Within hours, comments flooded in: neighbors, old colleagues, strangers condemning elder abuse and praising my courage. Then a voicemail from Claire hit my inbox, her voice shrill. Stop posting lies, Mom, you're ruining us. My finger hovered over the reply button, but I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the voicemail to Susan Hayes, my lawyer, with a note. She's cracking. What's next? A new emotion surged, not defiance, but a fierce satisfaction. Claire's empire of lies was teetering, and I was pushing it toward collapse. The porch air was cool, carrying the scent of blooming jasmine from a nearby trellis. The street was silent, save for the soft chirp of crickets, a stark contrast to the storm brewing online. Claire's voicemail revealed more than panic, it exposed a fracture. A second piece of evidence came from Ethan, who texted me a recorded argument he'd overheard. Claire and Greg shouting in their garage. Your secret kid's ruining everything. Greg snapped. You said it was handled. Claire's reply was venomous. I'm doing this for him, not you. Their alliance was crumbling, driven by her hidden son, the same one she'd abandoned. To avoid my judgment, I saved the recording, labeling it Claire versus Greg, and sent it to Susan. My satisfaction tempered by a pang for Ethan's pain. I remembered Claire at 25 confiding her fears about motherhood, promising to make me proud. That promise was a lie now. Her secret son, the root of her desperation. My satisfaction wasn't joy, it was the thrill of seeing her unravel, knowing I'd sparked it. I wasn't just protecting Ethan or my legacy. I was dismantling Claire's facade, piece by piece. Her affair, her theft, her forged files, all tied to this child she'd hidden. I couldn't stop now. not when her lies were exposed. My nurse's training kicked in. Diagnose, treat, resolve. Claire was the disease, and I was the cure. Martha Gaines appeared at the porch steps, her face lit by the glow of her phone. "The whole town's talking," she said, her voice sharp with excitement. "That Zoom clip's on every Boise page, and now your LinkedIn post. People are calling Claire a monster." She paused, her eyes softening. "You okay with this going so public?" I nodded, my voice firm. "It's time," I said. "She started this." Martha's nod was resolute. "Janet's organizing a neighborhood watch group. We're keeping tabs on Claire and that doctor guy." Her words were a spark, amplifying my fight. The community wasn't just watching, they were joining me. I stood, leaning on the porch railing, a single firefly blinking in the dusk. Its fleeting light felt like a signal, urging me to keep pushing. I didn't linger on. My focus was Claire's breaking point. Ethan's recording showed her marriage fracturing, her panic rising. Greg's anger meant he might turn on her. A weak link I could exploit. I texted Ethan, "You did good. Stay safe. Tell me more." His reply was quick. "Mom's packing bags, talking about leaving. Dad's furious." Claire was running, but I'd corner her. I emailed Susan. "Claire's fighting with Greg. Use this." Susan's response was immediate. "I'll draft a legal notice for both." This could break them. The porch creaked under my pacing, my mind racing. Claire's voicemail and Greg's argument were dynamite-proof. Her plan was imploding. Her secret son wasn't just a motive. It was her undoing. I recalled a patient years ago, a man whose lies cost him his family. Claire was on that path, and I'd make sure she faced it. But Ethan's role weighed heavy. He'd given me the recording, but each step hurt him more. Could I destroy Claire without shattering him? My satisfaction didn't erase that fear, but it fueled my next move. I needed to tighten the noose, to make Claire feel the pressure. I checked LinkedIn against comments now in the hundreds. Some from nurses I'd worked with, praising my strength. "Don't let them silence you," one wrote. Their support was a tidal wave, pushing my story beyond Boise. I thought of Voss, the disgraced Dr. Claire had hired. His forged evaluation, tied to her theft, was personal, a grudge from my past. Claire's choice to work with him wasn't random. It was a calculated strike at my legacy. I texted Martha, "Any more on that doctor?" Her reply was swift. "Frank saw him at a Nampa clinic, meeting Claire. Looked nervous." Nampa again, their hideout was becoming clearer. I sat on the porch swing, the chains creaking softly. Claire's desperation was palpable. She'd lashed out in that voicemail, unaware I'd use it against her. Greg's anger, caught on Ethan's recording, showed their plan unraveling. I opened my laptop, drafting a list of evidence: stolen funds, forged file, Zoom clip, voicemail. Now this argument. Each piece was a brick in my case, built with the precision of my nursing days, but the cost loomed. Ethan's trust was fragile, and this fight could break it. I recalled a night shift, comforting a teen whose parents had failed her. Ethan was that teen now, and I'd protect him, even if it meant losing Claire. The jasmine's scent grew stronger, the night deepening. My phone buzzed in it. "Claire's been seen at a motel in Nampa. People are talking, saying she's falling apart." The neighborhood's eyes were relentless. Their support, a weapon, I replied. "Keep me posted. We're close." Claire's world was collapsing, and I was the catalyst. But what was her next move? Running to Nampa, fighting with Greg? She was cornered, but desperate people were dangerous. I leaned back, the swing swaying. My satisfaction was afire, but it burned alongside a question. Could I end this without losing everything? The answer was near, and I'd find it in Claire's next mistake. I met Laura Bennett, a local journalist, at a Boise coffee shop, sliding a folder across the table. Inside were the PayPal records, the forged medical file, the Zoom clip, Claire's voicemail, and Ethan's recording of her fight with Greg. Laura's eyes widened as she flipped through, her pen already scribbling. "This is explosive," she said, her voice low but eager. My hands were steady, but a quiet triumph pulsed through me, not joy, but the weight of truth breaking free. Claire's plan to declare me insane, driven by her secret son and Voss's vendetta, was about to unravel. I wasn't just exposing her, I was rewriting the narrative she'd tried to force on me. The coffee shop buzzed with morning chatter, the air thick with the scent of roasted beans and fresh pastries. Laura's article, published hours later as Boise nurse betrayed by daughter's lies, hit Facebook like a thunderclap, shared thousands of times. The first bombshell, Alan Voss, the disgraced doctor, had turned on Claire, admitting to police she'd paid him to fake my dementia diagnosis. The second hit harder. Claire's secret son, David, 25, was the child of Dr. Mark Ellis, a mentor I'd revered at the hospital. Claire had hidden him to preserve my respect, then betrayed me to fund his return. My triumph was tempered by a hollow Mark's memory, once a beacon, now tainted. I remembered Claire at 15, trailing me at the hospital, idolizing Mark's skill. Now, she'd used his legacy to justify her lies. The revelation didn't spark anger, forged a calm resolve to end this. Laura's article detailed Voss's confession. Claire had orchestrated everything, from the oxygen machine stunt to the fake charity, to seize my estate. David's sudden return, demanding money, had pushed her to desperation. I emailed Laura's article to Susan Hayes, my lawyer, with a note. Filed charges. It's time. Susan's reply was swift. Fraud and elder abuse. They're done. My nurse's instincts, honed over decades, had guided me. Observe, document, strike. Ethan sat with me that evening, his face pale but resolute. I confronted Mom, he said, voice low. She admitted to David, said she was scared you'd judge her. His pain mirrored mine, but his loyalty held firm. I squeezed his hand, my voice steady. You're my family now, I said. He nodded, eyes glistening. Martha and Janet stopped by, their faces lit with pride. The whole town's behind you, Janet said. That article's everywhere. Their support was a tidal wave, amplifying my victory. I handed them copies of Laura's article, asking them to share it. Let everyone know, I said. Their nods were fierce. A community united. The coffee shop's windows framed a Boise sunrise, casting golden light on the folder, now empty. Its blank pages felt like a marker of closure, a final chapter written. Claire and Greg faced charges for conspiracy, elder abuse, their reputations shattered. Voss was arrested, his fake clinic in Nampa shut down. David surfaced online, decrying Claire's lies, his words a final nail. I recalled my nursing days, fighting for patients dismissed as too old. Now, I'd fought for myself, using every tool, PayPal, Zoom, neighbors, to expose the truth. But the cost was steep. Claire was gone, our bond severed. Ethan stayed, but his trust was fragile. A lifeline I'd guard. I walked outside, the morning air sharp with the promise of fall. The neighborhood was alive, cars humming, joggers passing, but I felt apart, my triumph bittersweet. Claire's desperation, driven by David and her fear of my judgment, had destroyed her. I'd won, but at what price? My phone buzzed comments on Laura's article, calling me a hero. The label felt heavy, not heroic. I'd exposed Claire, but lost the daughter I'd raised. Ethan's face, his quiet strength, was my anchor. I'd protected him, but the void lingered. What came next? The truth was out, but its echoes would haunt me. I sat on a bench, the city waking around me. My journey began with Claire's cruel laugh, her attempt to break me. Each step in covering her theft, her lies, her secret son built my case, but also broke my heart. I'd used my nurse's skills, my neighbor's eyes, and technology's reach to fight back. Now, standing at the end, I saw the truth. Family isn't owed loyalty, it's earned, and sometimes lost. For those betrayed by their own, know this. Your strength isn't in forgiveness, but in facing the truth, no matter how raw. Don't let shame silence you. Gather your evidence, find your allies, and speak. I did, and I'm still standing. To anyone fighting their own battle, you're not alone. Take the first step, and the world will see you. If you followed my story, join our channel for the next one. Your support keeps these truths alive.